Most people think power is about money, but real power is making someone disappear while they're still standing right in front of you. Margaret had been invisible for 7 years. Not to the world, to her own son. She was 61 years old. She worked nights cleaning the executive floors of Harlow Industries, one of the largest tech companies in North America. The building was all glass and steel, cold even in summer. She'd push her cart through silent hallways, wiping down desks that cost more than her annual salary. No one spoke to her. Most didn't even look up. But that was fine. She wasn't there to be seen. She was there because she had nowhere else to go. Before we continue, if this is your first time watching one of our videos, we'd love for you to hit that subscribe button and comment where you are watching from. Your support means the world to us, and it helps us bring you even more powerful stories. 7 years ago, Margaret's husband died. Henry. They'd been married 34 years. He was a good man. Quiet. Kind. The kind of person who remembered your birthday and never raised his voice. When he passed, their only son, David, didn't come to the funeral. He sent flowers. Expensive ones. With a card that said, "Sorry for your loss. D." Margaret stood alone at the service. A few neighbors came. Henry's old co-worker brought casserole. But her son, the boy she'd raised, fed, put through college, didn't show. He called 2 weeks later. "Mom, I'm sorry. Work's been crazy." You understand. She did understand. David had always been ambitious. Even as a child, he wanted more. Better grades. Better friends. A better life than the one she and Henry could give him. And he got it. David Harlow was now one of the youngest billionaires in the country. His face was on magazine covers. He gave TED Talks. People called him a visionary. Margaret called him once a month. He never answered. She'd leave a message. Something simple. "Hi, sweetheart. Just checking in. Love you." He never called back. But she kept calling. Because that's what mothers do. Margaret's shift started at 10 p.m. and ended at 6 a.m. She'd arrive early, change into her uniform in the basement locker room, and take the service elevator to the top floors. Executive suites, corner offices, conference rooms with views of the city. She cleaned them all. It was the same every night. Empty coffee cups, scattered papers, sometimes a half-eaten sandwich left on a desk. She'd wipe it all down, empty the trash, vacuum the carpets. No one ever said thank you. Most nights, she didn't see a single person. But once in a while, someone would stay late. A young exec working on a pitch. A lawyer finishing a contract. They'd glance at her, then look away. Like she was part of the furniture. Margaret didn't mind. She'd learned a long time ago that some people only see you if you're useful. And to them, she wasn't. But there was one person who always acknowledged her. His name was Tom. Tom was a security guard. Late 50s, graying hair, soft voice. He'd been working at Harlow Industries for 12 years. He knew everyone's name. Even hers. "Evening, Margaret," he'd say when she clocked in. "Evening, Tom. Cold out there tonight?" "Always is." He'd smile. She'd smile back. It wasn't much, but it was something. One night, about 3 months into her job, Tom stopped her on her way to the elevator. "Hey, Margaret, can I ask you something?" She nodded. "You ever meet the big man? Mr. Harlow?" Her chest tightened. "No," she said quietly. "Never have." Tom scratched his chin. "Funny. You've been here a while now. Most people at least see him once. He works late sometimes. Walks the floors." Margaret nodded. Maybe one day. But she hoped that day would never come. Because David didn't know she worked here. And she wanted to keep it that way. It happened on a Tuesday. Margaret was cleaning the executive conference room on the 15th floor. It was nearly 2 a.m. The building was silent except for the hum of the air conditioning. She was wiping down the long glass table when she heard footsteps. She froze. Someone was coming. The door opened. And there he was. David. Her son. He looked older than the photos she'd seen online. Tired. His tie was loose, his sleeves rolled up. He was carrying a laptop and a coffee cup. He walked to the table, set his things down, and pulled out a chair. He didn't look at her. Not once. Margaret's hands were shaking. She kept wiping the table, moving slowly, quietly, trying to stay invisible. But then David spoke. "Can you do that later?" His voice was flat. Annoyed. Margaret stopped. "I'm sorry, sir. I'll come back. Thanks." She gathered her supplies, hands trembling, and walked toward the door. She paused at the threshold. Just for a second. She wanted to turn around. To say his name. to remind him who she was. But she didn't, because somewhere deep down she already knew. He wouldn't remember. After that night, Margaret saw David 3 more times. Each time the same thing happened. He'd walk past her, look through her, speak to her like she was a stranger. And each time she said nothing. Tom noticed. "You okay?" he asked one night after she clocked out. Margaret nodded. "Just tired." "You sure? You've been quiet lately." She forced a smile. "I'm fine, Tom. Really." But she wasn't fine. She was breaking. Not because David didn't recognize her, but because part of her wasn't surprised. She thought back to the last real conversation they'd had. It was 3 years ago. She'd called him on his birthday. He answered, "Hey Mom. Happy birthday, sweetheart." "Thanks. Look, I'm in the middle of something. Can I call you back?" Of course. He never did. And she never brought it up. Because that's what she did. She absorbed the hurt. Tucked it away. Kept calling. Kept hoping. Kept disappearing. It was a Friday night. Margaret was cleaning the 14th floor when she heard voices. Laughter. She followed the sound to one of the smaller meeting rooms. The door was cracked open. Inside, a group of young executives were gathered around a table. Champagne bottles. Expensive takeout. David was there. He was smiling. Relaxed. Telling a story. Margaret stopped in the hallway, hidden just out of sight. "So my mom," David said, laughing. "She used to clip coupons. I'm talking stacks of them. We'd go to the grocery store and she'd hold up the line for 20 minutes just to save $3. The room erupted in laughter. "Oh my God," someone said. "That's so embarrassing." David grinned. "Yeah, I mean I get it. They didn't have much. But man, I couldn't wait to get out of that house." More laughter. Margaret's hands went numb. She backed away slowly, turned, and walked to the service elevator. Her vision blurred. She didn't cry. She just stood there, alone, holding her cart, staring at the metal doors. Margaret didn't sleep that night. She sat in her small apartment, staring at the wall. The next evening, she came to work early. She went to the executive floor. To David's office. She knew the code. She'd cleaned it 100 times. She unlocked the door and stepped inside. It was pristine. Mahogany desk. Leather chair. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. On the desk was a framed photo. David. Smiling. Shaking hands with some politician. No family photos. No pictures of Henry. None of her. Margaret sat down in the chair across from his desk. She pulled out a small notebook from her pocket and a pen. She wrote, "David, I've been cleaning your office for 7 months. You've walked past me 11 times. You never looked at me once. I don't blame you. I just wanted you to know I was here. Mom." She folded the note and placed it in the center of his desk. Then she left. Margaret didn't go back to work the next night, or the night after that. She called in sick. Tom covered for her. She stayed in her apartment. Barely ate. Barely moved. She kept waiting for her phone to ring. It didn't. A week passed. Then 2. Nothing. He'd seen the note. She was sure of it. But he didn't call. Didn't text. Didn't come looking for her. And somehow, that hurt more than anything. On the 15th day, there was a knock at Margaret's door. She opened it. It was Tom. "Hey," he said gently. "You okay?" She nodded. "I'm fine. You don't look fine." She tried to smile. "I just needed some time." Tom stepped inside. He looked around the small apartment. 1 chair. A narrow bed. A kitchen with barely any food. He sat down. "Margaret," he said quietly, "I found something." He reached into his jacket and pulled out a crumpled piece of paper. It was her note. "Where did you get that?" she whispered. "Trash," Tom said. "In his office. Day after you left it." Margaret's breath caught. Tom looked at her. He threw it away. She nodded slowly. "I'm sorry," Tom said. "It's okay." "It's not." She didn't respond. Tom stood. "You deserve better than this." "I know," she said. But she didn't believe it. Margaret returned to work 3 days later. She didn't tell anyone why she'd been gone. She clocked in, changed into her uniform, took the elevator up, and went back to being invisible. But something had shifted. She stopped calling David, stopped leaving messages, stopped hoping. She just let go. And in a strange way, it felt like relief. 2 months later, David gave an interview. It was on a major news network. Primetime slot. The host smiled warmly. "You've built an empire, but I want to know about the man behind it. Tell us about your family. David leaned back, confident, polished. Well, I lost my father a few years ago. That was hard. He was a good man. And your mother? David paused. Just for a second. She's not around anymore. The host's expression softened. I'm so sorry. David nodded. Yeah, but I carry them with me. Everything I do is for them. Margaret watched the interview on her phone during her break. She sat alone in the locker room. And for the first time in 7 years, she laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was absurd. He'd erased her. Completely. And the world believed him. 3 weeks later, something unusual happened. There was a board meeting scheduled. Emergency session. All executives required. Margaret was told to clean the conference room early and leave before 7 p.m. She did. But as she was gathering her supplies, she noticed something. A small recording device had been left under the table. She picked it up. It was still on. She turned it off and slipped it into her pocket. She didn't know why, but something told her to keep it. That night, at home, Margaret listened to the recording. It was David's voice. And others. They were talking about a deal. A merger. Cutting costs. We'll have to let go of about 2,000 employees, David said. Mostly lower tier. Cleaners, security, support staff. Someone asked, what's the messaging? Restructuring. Efficiency. The usual. And severance? David laughed. Minimal. They're replaceable. Margaret stopped the recording. Her hands were shaking. Not from anger. From clarity. Margaret didn't sleep that night. She sat at her small kitchen table, the recording device in front of her. She thought about Henry. About David. About the life she'd lived in the shadows. And she made a decision. The next morning, Margaret went to the public library. She created a new email account, and she sent the recording to 3 people. A journalist at a major newspaper, a labor rights organization, and the company's board of directors. The subject line read, "The truth about Harlow Industries." She didn't sign it. She didn't explain. She just sent it, and then she went to work. The story broke 2 days later. Billionaire CEO caught on tape. They're replaceable. It went viral. News outlets picked it up. Social media exploded. Employees staged walkouts. David released a statement. These comments were taken out of context. I deeply care about every member of the Harlow team. No one believed him. The board called an emergency meeting. David was suspended pending investigation. David knew someone inside had leaked the recording. He demanded an internal investigation. Security footage was reviewed. Emails were checked. But they found nothing. Because Margaret had been invisible for so long, no one thought to look at her. One night, Tom pulled Margaret aside. Did you hear? He asked. Hear what? About the leak. The recording. She nodded. I saw it on the news. Tom studied her face. Margaret, he said slowly. Do you know something? She met his eyes. No, she said. He didn't push. But he smiled. Just a little. 3 weeks later, David resigned. The board issued a statement. Mr. Harlow has decided to step down to focus on personal matters. We thank him for his service. The company restructured. The layoffs were canceled. Employees kept their jobs. Margaret read the news on her phone during her break. She didn't smile. She didn't cry. She just nodded and went back to work. A month later, Margaret received a letter. It was hand-delivered to her apartment. Expensive stationery. She opened it. Mom, I know it was you. I don't know how. But I know. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything. David. Margaret read it twice. Then she folded it and placed it in a drawer. She didn't respond. 2 months later, Margaret got a new job. A small law firm downtown. Daytime cleaning. Better pay. Weekends off. Tom helped her move her things from the Harlow building. You gonna miss it? He asked. She looked back at the glass tower. No, she said. And she meant it. 6 months later, Margaret was sitting in a coffee shop. It was a Saturday morning. Rare day off. She was reading a book when someone sat down across from her. She looked up. It was David. He looked different. Thinner. Older. No suit. Just jeans and a sweater. Hi, Mom, he said quietly. She didn't respond. Can I sit? You already are. He nodded. Looked down at his hands. I've been trying to find you, he said. Took me a while. Why? He exhaled. Because I need to say something. Margaret closed her book. I was wrong, David said. About everything. About you. About Dad. About what matters. She waited. I thought success meant leaving everything behind. Becoming someone new. But I was just running. Margaret's voice was steady. From what? From feeling small. From being the kid whose mom clipped coupons. I was ashamed. And I'm sorry. She looked at him. Really looked at him. And saw a stranger. I appreciate that, she said. But I don't think I can forgive you. Not yet. David nodded. I understand. Maybe not ever. I know. He stood. I'll leave you alone, he said. But if you ever want to talk, I'll be here. He walked away. Margaret watched him go. And for the first time in years, she felt something. Not love. Not hate. Just peace. Margaret started volunteering at a community garden. Twice a week. Morning shifts. She liked the quiet. The dirt under her nails. The way things grew if you gave them time. One day a woman approached her. You're good at this, the woman said. Margaret smiled. Just takes patience. I'm Sarah. I run the garden. Margaret. They shook hands. Sarah looked at her. You've got kind eyes. Margaret didn't know what to say. We could use more people like you, Sarah said. And just like that, Margaret made a friend. A year later, Margaret's phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. But she did. Hello? Mom. It was David. I'm getting married, he said. I wanted you to know. Margaret was silent. I'd like you to be there, he said. If you're willing. She thought about it. For a long time. I'll think about it, she said. That's all I ask. She hung up. And stared at the phone. Margaret didn't decide right away. She talked to Sarah. To Tom. To herself. And one night, sitting in her apartment, she realized something. Forgiveness wasn't about him. It was about her. About letting go of the weight. About choosing peace over pain. So she called him back. I'll come, she said. David's voice cracked. Thank you. But I'm coming for me, she said. Not for you. I understand. Good. The wedding was small. Elegant. Margaret sat in the back. She wore a simple dress. No one recognized her. When David saw her, he smiled. She nodded. That was enough. After the ceremony, he approached her. Thank you for coming. You're welcome. I know I don't deserve it. You don't, she said. But I needed to see if I could. And can you? She looked at him. I don't know yet, she said. But I'm trying. David nodded. And for the first time in years, he looked like her son again. Margaret left the wedding early. She took a cab home. Sat in her apartment. Looked out the window. And smiled. Not because everything was fixed. But because she'd survived. Because she'd been invisible for so long. And now, finally, she could see herself. The end.